I like to tell myself that's why you're able to help people, because you feel so much and you empathize with people in their situations so much. That's why I can do a personal development podcast, and that's what makes me a good friend.
Welcome to Personal Finance Cat, where I share my personal take on personal finance.
Hi, Catherine. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me. I really appreciate you inviting me on.
Of course. I love your background. I'm a winner. I'm strong and courageous, etc., etc.
Yeah,
I
gotta
think
feel good when you sit down to work.
yeah, that's awesome. And I think when I saw your headshot showing up for a little bit, you were holding your book, which is called Mom's Got Money.
Yes.
Okay, so let's maybe start there. You're a mom, and I think you have a company called 5 Year You, and you're
I
focused
do.
on personal finance, and you had many accolades and coverage by the media. So, can you kind of talk about your journey? How did you start your company, and why do you want to focus on personal finance?
Sure. I actually started a blog around 12 years ago, way back in the early blogging dinosaur days where no one cared about SEO and you just wrote about your life. And I was actually in graduate school and I needed a creative outlet. And I was so broke in graduate school. Like, I think I had a teaching stipend of $14,000 a year. So I just started sharing with everybody how I decorated my first apartment on my own with all my thrift store finds. And I would share my budget and how I was like making it on this tiny income. And over time, different people would find my blog and they would need content for their websites. And so someone would say, "Hey, I really liked how you wrote about budgets. Can you write about mortgages for this bank?" And I had never had a mortgage before, but I knew how to research and I was confident in my writing abilities. So I would just kind of figure it out, fake it till you make it. And then over time, it led to a lot of different opportunities. Social media became bigger with Instagram, more brand deals, eventually the book deal. And 5 Year You is actually a new company that I started with my longtime business partner. We started a podcast with it, and it is a personal development and self-improvement podcast, which money is a part. But I think that we spent so long as personal finance writers and bloggers that we also wanted to share other parts of our journey and help people with whatever they were working on.
Cool, cool. Maybe let's start from the personal finance side, right?
Sure.
Can you talk about some of the common, let's say, personal finance challenges? And do you have any practical advice for people overcoming these personal finance challenges?
Definitely. I mean, my writing and the book, I really cater to moms and to women because more often than not, I see women being intimidated by money. And it's sort of designed that way, right? It's like finance bro culture and all the big terms. And so it's sort of intentionally exclusive. And so my big thing is, as a very first step, if someone wanted to get better with money or they wanted to learn about money, would be just to pick up the first book or to start following some personal finance voices on social media that are like you, that look like you. So if you're a young mom, find one like that. If you're a single mom, if you find people, like if you are Hispanic and you don't see a lot of Hispanic influencers, there's a lot of really amazing ones. Like, find people who resonate with you and who you want to be like, and you become what you surround yourself with. And so I wrote my book as hoping that it would be the first of many personal finance books that somebody read. I wanted to be the starting off point. So for me, it's, instead of surrounding yourself with like, oh my gosh, I love this influencer and she shows me all these amazing things to buy on Amazon, instead sort of like train your algorithm to show you money, entrepreneurship, and investing topics, and really start to embody and become somebody who is good with money.
Yeah, that's very good advice. You said to follow somebody who is similar to you because you can probably resonate with them more. You mentioned briefly about your journey, which
Mm-hmm.
you touched upon graduate school and blogging. So what was your education in, and how did you ever actually like work in a W-2 job before starting your own business?
I did, but very briefly. So I actually went to school for history. I loved writing. I love people's stories. I wanted to work in museums. So I actually did work for the Park Service as a historian for a year. And
Hmm.
then I taught English at college for a year. But that the blog that I started in grad school, like as I had these 2 years of W-2 work, kind of grew and grew. And eventually, I had enough freelance writing clients writing financial content that it earned more than those jobs. And so I ended up making the leap. This was, before I had kids, before I had like real life expenses. But yeah, there's definitely been times, business is not linear, right? There's definitely been times I've considered going back to W-2 work, but I always, I value the freedom too much with this type of work.
Yeah.
But that's why I felt confident. Like, again, given the mortgage example, having never had a mortgage, like I was a historian and a trained researcher. So I knew that I could find the correct information that, wherever I found a government websites, I knew I could find like accurate pieces and make it enjoyable and readable that wasn't coming from like a Wall Street type of brand voice.
That makes sense. So, do you sort of recommend people? Because I feel like kind of a side hustle or freelance have become more and more common, and
Oh, yeah.
a lot of cases it generate very meaningful income, even potentially.
Yes.
So, do you recommend people kind of explore that regardless of their background, or it kind of depends on their interests? What do you think?
Yeah, I think you should go with what you like, right? Because when we say side hustle, we're recommending to people outside of your day job or outside of school, go and do this other thing to earn some money to change your life in a meaningful way. For me, I paid off a lot of student loan debt when I had both jobs, when I was freelancing and teaching. And I would recommend doing something that you enjoy, because even though I was like a liberal arts major and I was always naturally frugal. Like my mom describes taking us to Disney World as a kid, and a grandparent gave each one of us $100, and my siblings like, yeah, they blew it. And she said, I agonized over how to spend my $100, and she's like, I waited forever for you to decide between if you were going to buy the $12 necklace or something. So even though I didn't go to school for finance, like this, it's always been kind of like a hobby of mine to budget and see what I can flip at the thrift store. So yes, side hustle, I would definitely do something that you like. And if you're just starting out, I would recommend that you do something with low overhead. For
Mhm.
me, freelance writing, you just need your computer. That's it.
Mhm. Yes.
Which most people who are in college or graduates or, most adults have a computer. But I wouldn't recommend, oh, let me just, start this huge, let me go buy all these products to hopefully flip and have to have a warehouse to store them all in. Like I would just do something with low overhead to
Mhm.
get started.
Yeah, those are very practical, good advice. So then, for your book, can you talk
Mm-hmm.
about what that, on a high level, what is the book about, and what are some key lessons that people can glean from it?
Sure. Well, the book, the main theme of the book is to encourage moms to take a seat at the proverbial table and to encourage them to take an active role in their family's finances.
Mhm.
And a lot of the book is motivating in that I make sure moms know that if they can raise kids, like they can totally do this money stuff. Raising kids is the most difficult job on the planet. And as mothers, we control like $80 billion of spending. We are the ones buying a lot of things for the household and making these money decisions. And so for me, I just encourage women to take it one step further and to say, look, if you can go and plan out your family's meal for the week, you can learn how to do basic investing. Or if you can, teach your kids and you work with your kids and you read to your kids, you can absolutely sit down and figure out a budget or figure out how to pay down your debt. You motivate your kids at their swim meets, you can motivate your spouse to like pay down some major student loan debt. As moms, they already have all the skills inherent within them to be successful with money. And so the book is really a money 101 book. It's
Mhm.
how to do a budget, how to have a family budget meeting, why emergency funds are important. And every chapter includes a personal story from my life, all the way down to the last chapter, which is about giving and being generous with others. So it's an introductory personal finance book with a lot of like, you go girl kind of vibe to it.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. I definitely want to check it out now that you
Yeah.
talked about it. So yeah, definitely kind of knowledge and that encouragement is very important. But I think somewhere in your bio, I also saw, keywords or topics like resilience,
Yeah.
grit. So can you talk about how those kind of attributes would play in handling personal finances?
Yeah. So you asked about resilience and
Yeah.
grit.
Or is that more so
Yeah.
on the personal development side? I guess you can talk about
Well,
both. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's all relatable. And I think that's why, leaning into personal development, it's because, you need resilience and grit in so many aspects of your life. And I think when it comes to money, especially, a lot of people think they're too old or it's over for them or this bad thing happened to them or this tragic event and they won't be able to overcome it or their business failed. And part of this journey we called life is recognizing that everything that we do is we come here to learn, we come here to experience the highs and the lows, and that they all contribute to the people that we become, the people that we want to be, and that it's okay to make mistakes and it's okay to make money mistakes. And for me, there's been many points I've had to be resilient. 2 years ago, I unexpectedly got divorced, and there was so much shame wrapped around it because I just had the book come out. And I've got this nice chapter in the book that's like how to have a money meeting with your family and how to set money goals with your spouse. And like I'm trying to do a media tour to promote the book, and I just like my whole life is like falling apart at the same time. And part of it is telling myself not, oh, you're a failure because this happened, but I am so grateful that I have the money skills and knowledge that I do, because I'm going to be able to help so many other women in this position who might have found themselves like this, and they don't know what to do without their spouse budgeting or without their spouse's income, or they don't know how much they have in their retirement fund. And for me, like I had all of that knowledge, and so I knew that I was going to be okay. I just had to kind of get through the hard parts to start thriving. And so I think resilience is so important. And that's why we started 5 Year You. That's why the book is so you go girl, because all of it comes down to not what everyone else thinks about you, not about all the societal expectations that give us all those feelings of shame if we don't meet them. It's about you showing yourself what you can do, whether things are going great or whether you're going through a hard time.
Yeah. That's a perfect segue to talk about your company, your new company, 5 Year
Yeah.
You, which I think is there's a goal for it to assist 1 million people in becoming their best versions or best selves within five
Yeah.
years. So can you talk about how you usually go about helping people to achieve that goal?
Absolutely. Well, there are the main way that we help people is, of course, through free content and the podcast. So we've been publishing a podcast every week, and it's always on a different topic. Our tagline is raw, real, and relatable. My business partner and I are both highly sensitive, so we don't know what it's like to just have a normal conversation. We always like go deep, right? Um, and so we talk about how to be your own best friend and how to honor your own beliefs and the power of contrast. Today, we talked about how expectations are a relationship killer. And so we talk about lots of different topics, but we also have a course, and we also in the future are going to open up group coaching and one-on-one coaching. Our hope is in the next year or two would be to host some small retreats where people can come and embody what it's like to be the version of them 5 years from now, to come and sort of like act like who they want to be 5 years from now and learn some of these tools so that they can get closer to becoming who they want to be.
That's great. Yeah. Best of luck. So how long have you
Thanks.
been with this company?
So this one is 1 year old. We're almost to the 1 year mark, but lots of planning first. Like the podcast launched at the beginning of this year.
Uh-huh.
But my business partner, Andrew Dewar, and I, we have been working together for 6 years. So we have several websites that we own together.
Okay.
And we met at a personal finance conference. So a lot of our websites are personal finance, but we are self-improvement junkies. So we're always like, oh, did you read that book? And you got to read this one. And did you see this podcast episode? And so we had this sort of frank conversation. It's like, if we could do anything, if we could start any business, no matter how crazy it is, like t-shirt company, like whatever, and we knew it couldn't fail, and we knew we could help a lot of people, and if money was no object,
Mhm.
what would we do? And we were both like, oh, we would do like personal development stuff. We would write personal development books like all of our favorite people, and we would do public speaking. And so once we kind of like, you take away all the barriers, we're like, all right, well, I think this is going to be the next thing then.
Yeah.
And so yeah, lots of months of planning, and then early this year the podcast launch.
Cool,
So
cool. And you said you met him, the partner, through a
yeah, and
personal finance conference.
yeah, at FinCon. Yeah.
Wow, cool, cool. And then it sounds like you were already in some sort of partnership with him already before you starting this company. So
Yeah.
were you guys just doing the personal finance type of blogging and such together?
That's
before
right.
this?
Yeah, we when we first met, we were both working from home, and we needed like accountability partners, like a
Mhm.
accountability mastermind. And so we met every Wednesday, and it was sort of like, this is my homework for the week, and this is your homework
Mhm.
for the week. And just kind of encourage each other. He had his personal finance blog, and I had mine and my freelance clients. And then over time, we launched like a budgeting product together, and then like an ebook together, and then one of our friends was selling their website, so we bought that one together, and then we just kept adding on to it over the years. And so we have a very complementary skill set. So he is very good with technology, very good with SEO and marketing and all the tools, and then I enjoy the writing and the editing and the design work and all of that. So we work really, really well together. And we've been successful. Obviously, Google updates, things go up and down. It's, again, not linear.
Mhm.
But this is really the first thing we've started just for the pure enjoyment of it, just to see how it goes without these like, oh no, we have to make this much by this time. We're like, let's just have fun.
Yeah.
It's a new concept for us. Let's just have fun with it and see what happens.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Yeah, partnership is interesting. I think when you have a great partner, like from what you were describing, it sounds like you guys have very complementary skills and you
Yes.
kind of work well together. But sometimes, it might go the other way. But
Oh, it can. Oh, we had other people we tried to work with before us, and it.
no,
I think that it doesn't have to be official partnerships, but I think the way that we did it was really helpful, because I have partnered with people before, like to start a business, and like went all the way in right away, and it wasn't a good fit, and it's really hard to undo that once you've like formed LLCs together and things like that. So I think the way we did it, I'd recommend to anyone, is just try one product together, try like one thing, one video together, and just see how it goes. I think because it was so gradual, there was a lot of trust that was built up.
Yeah.
But we both acknowledged that, like, we're lucky, because previously, like, we had not had much luck trying to work with others before.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. So going back to the sort of self-improvement topic,
Yeah.
How important it is to have resilience and grit. You mentioned that you had an unexpected divorce 2 years ago, and thank you
Yeah.
for sharing that. And I'm sure, divorce recovery can be very challenging for most people. So can you share some insights and or strategies that have helped you, and maybe in the future can help other people to navigate through this? Similar experience?
Yeah. Well,
Mhm.
I think the biggest thing is I'm very open about being a pro therapy, pro mental health, and I think that again, especially with divorce, there's so much shame wrapped around it, especially if you come from families or cultures where people don't get divorced, like, and which is how I grew up. My parents been married over 40 years, and it's just like not something people do. Um, and so having to navigate that and having to really make sure that how I thought of myself was preserved was really important. So I did weekly therapy for over a year, leading up to the divorce and afterwards in the recovery. And a lot of it had to do with like setting boundaries and trying to figure out this new normal. I don't know if you're married or not, but when you're married, you have like this idea of how your future is going to look, and you expect it to be a certain way, and your brain plans it. We're going to go on all these trips, and then one day we're going to have grandbabies, and we're going to do this, and we're going to help our kids in this way, and we're going to go together to all their special events. And then all of a sudden, like everything you thought was going to happen is it's gone, and you have to write a new story. And for me, what was really helpful about therapy was kind of turning off the button in my brain that's like, you have to like excel and succeed and be like great at everything, and you need to like, your business needs to be rocking right now. For me, I really had to give myself permission to take the time to heal, go through therapy, kind of make a new plan. Um, I ended up selling my house for a while. I was very stubborn about not wanting to sell the house because I was like, I wrote a personal finance book and I want to prove to everyone that I can still afford to live in this beautiful home. And eventually I was like, what would you tell someone if they sent you an email and outlined the situation? You would say, girl, you got to sell the house. And I'm like, oh, I know I do. And so, sold the house, and I'm just renting right now. So again, giving myself permission to not check the box of what society says you're supposed to be at my age or at this education level or as a mother or whatever, and just doing what's right for me. So a lot of that post recovery, if someone's going through the same thing, is going to be about kind of getting back in touch with yourself and what you want, and then writing your new story.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So, do you recommend a similar sort of openness and, kind of getting professional help type of approach for other mental health struggles? Like, I think you mentioned in your bio, I saw, postpartum
Yeah.
depression and
Oh, yeah.
yeah, anxiety. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
For sure. Yeah, I'm very, very pro therapy. And I think the great thing about the millennial generation is that people are more open about it. And
Mm-hmm.
what's great is like there's so many different types. Like there's so many apps now that are therapy apps. There's so many therapists that offer like sliding scale. I think a lot of people shy away from it because they're like, oh, it's going to be so expensive. But like with a little bit of digging, there are a lot of different ways to get the help that you need. And there's so many different types. So like if one doesn't work, someone else might work. For me, I just searched like therapists for like women, and the person I went to like only helped women with and people like women's issues and teenage girls and like of all different stages of life. That was like her jam.
Mm-hmm.
So just kind of finding someone in that situation or support group. Um, but yeah, you can't like do it alone. It's too hard. You have to have somebody, some type of support when you're going through something hard.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, for sure. And then you also mentioned that you were highly sensitive and your partner as well.
Yes.
People like that often face unique challenges. So,
Yes.
what are some of the strategies that you use that you think are effective in dealing with that?
Well, yes. So if someone's listening, I like fit the profile of what they say is like a highly sensitive person. Like you can go on and take a quiz, and they're like, "Yep, yep, you are more sensitive than the sensitive people." Um, but for me, I think the very first thing, as far as strategies and coping strategies, the very first thing that took me way too long to realize was to see it as a strength.
Mm-hmm.
Because I like my parents would be like, "Oh, that's our sensitive child. Like, don't she's just like that, you know." But for me, I had to really change the definition of what that meant for me, and I had to learn how to advocate for myself. So I like to tell myself like That's why you're able to help people, because you feel so much and you empathize with people in their situations so much. And that's why I can do a personal development podcast. And that's what makes me a good friend. Right. And, but there are other things that are hard. Like, I'm highly sensitive to sound. And so I wear like loop sound barriers in my ears pretty often, like normal things that people do, like go to the movies. I have earplugs in, and you just have to advocate for yourself. Like, I have 2 little kids, and I'm just like, no, mom has special ears, and it's the end of the day. We're just kind of getting to that point. So I don't want to lose it on anybody. So you just have to learn what you need and what your coping skills are. For me, I need like 20 minutes to like recharge the battery, and then I can go back out into society.
Thank you for sharing that. So, do you think that is part of the reason why you're so into personal development? I
Maybe
think,
so.
yeah.
Yeah, I think I've always been very introspective. And I think when you think a lot and you feel a lot, and you observe all of people's subtleties that other people don't notice, I think it just makes you very curious about um, how you tick, and how you can improve or make your life better. And so yeah, I think so. I think just the constant need to want to feel better or be better, or to manage like the big feelings that come with everything, for sure led me down a path of reading books and wanting to improve and learning like life hacks and things like that, for sure.
Hmm. Cool. And is that also the driving force behind you being entrepreneurial? Do you think that played a role as well, or that
I think
kept you?
so. I think that it's hard for people who are highly sensitive to kind of fit into the normal molds of like 9 to 5, let's have work meetings thing. There's just, again, there's so many like subtleties that we pick up on. And so it's really, really hard. So for me, um, I saw the benefit of being home and working from home. And like, I love talking to people one-on-one, like we're doing right now. But I
Mhm.
saw the benefit to my loved ones and my kids of me having this peaceful time during the day to be creative and get my work done, and have this kind of recharge time, and then be able to be a present mom for them. But yeah, I just think I've always kind of like walked to a different beat. And although I liked the jobs I had, like I knew there was something different and more for me. It took me a minute to figure out what it is, and it's still constantly changing, but yeah,
Mhm.
I wouldn't trade it.
Yeah. And are you still actively blogging?
Well, I have all the blogs. I can't remember the last time I've written a post, because I write about 20 articles a week for other blogs, like as a freelancer still.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I still have Mom's Got Money, and Mom's Got Money is my Instagram handle. And so I still am doing things for that, for sure.
So, do you have a bigger plan besides kind of this 5-year you venture that you started with your partner? What's your long-term goal that you want to achieve?
Well, I think the long-term goal is financial independence, right? To be able to make the choices of what projects and what things I want to do, because I know myself, and it's not going to be like, oh, 5-year you, this is the thing that I'm going to do every day for the next 50 years or whatever.
Mhm.
I know that I'm going to be writing forever, whatever that looks like, whether it's books or like I don't see like a retirement and then not working. I just see achieving financial independence and getting to choose the projects I like to work on.
Mhm.
So even now, like there's some clients I write for that I really love, and there's some that are kind of like, oh yay, I get to write another car insurance post, but I'm trying to reach the financial independence. So you do the jobs that maybe you don't want to do. So the goal is to wake up every day and to be able to choose what I want to do, to choose the projects I want to work on, to choose how I want to help people. Whatever that looks like. It kind of seems vague when I say it like that, but the primary goal is financial independence, and then that leaves you wide open to pursue whatever you want.
I think that's probably everybody's goal in some sense. But, I recently read a book titled The Psychology of Money. One thing that the book talks about, which is very interesting, is making money and keeping money are two completely
Two
different things.
different things.
Yeah.
100%.
In a
Yeah.
sense, the latter is more difficult because you know a lot of people who made great income, but then they lost it all, right?
Right.
As personal finance, influencers, whatever you want to call them, you sort of have to strike that balance, right? Because
That's
your
right.
main income source is how you make money, but then, at the back end, you also have to keep that as much as
That's
possible.
right.
So, do you have any advice on how people can sort of balance the two?
Yeah. I mean, I am balance the two as an influencer, as a personality, or just in
Yeah,
general.
yeah, in general, like for people to make as much money as possible and also keep as
Mhm.
much as possible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea to examine your habits. I think for me, I'm naturally frugal and I love a good deal and I love a good thrift store find. It doesn't matter how much money I make every year. Like to me, it's like a hunt.
Mhm.
It's easy to go to Target and pick out something cute, but it's hard to find something really good at the thrift store, right? So I that's just how I like to be and how I like to teach my kids. To try to find things that are good and long lasting and things like that. But the number one thing that I notice is just everybody trying to look a certain way or have certain things. This has been going on right since the beginning of time. And one of the things we teach in 5-Year U, we developed this thought process called the layers of life. You think of it like a target, speaking of target, but like a big target circle, and the inner of the circle, the tiniest circle, is yourself, right? It's your soul. It's what you want out of this life. It's your passions. It's your dreams. It's the essence of who you are. And then the circle goes out to family and friends and job and hobbies. And on the outer ring is like awards and accolades and what car you drive and social media. And so many people are living life from the outside in. They're chasing all of these things and wondering why they still don't feel good and they still don't feel happy. And so for us, we go through the process of teaching people how to get to know yourself and how to start living from the innermost part out, honoring your preferences and prioritizing your money, your budget, your peace, and over other people. Like, hey, I'm sorry, I can't come and fly across the country for your birthday because I'm prioritizing debt payoff. Like choosing yourself first, because that is the way to have that contentment and happiness. So as far as balancing the two, what works for me is giving myself like a set amount of money that I'm allowed to spend however I want each month versus just kind of mindlessly doing it. So, whatever it is, $300, $500, whatever fits in your budget. It's nice to have a little pocket of money that you can spend no questions asked, but I like to have a plan for everything that comes in.
Mhm.
But I used to be like so frugal that I wouldn't even like go get my nails done or treat myself. And so I've had, like, a lot of people have to teach themselves how to stop spending. I have to teach myself how to spend sometimes. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, but that's the goal, is to keep most of it. Like if we all think about it, like we really don't need that much. We live in this amazing advanced society where we can have whatever we want. And if you're watching this on a laptop on YouTube, then you're better off than 99% of the world, And
Mhm.
I think just sort of recognizing that and getting back to the core of who you want to be and how you want to live can really help you make those day-to-day spending decisions.
Hmm. Hmm. I really love what you said about how we should go from inside to the
Mm,
external world versus the
yeah.
other way around, which is unfortunately what many people are doing. It kind of came through very clearly. Writing is one of your passion, and you were able to also monetize on that, which is great. When did you know that you are passionate about writing?
So early on, like I always a bookworm, but I was definitely like the weird kid that made a family newspaper and was like editor of the paper in the 5th grade.
Hmm.
And I hired the photographer for my wedding that had been taking my pictures like all growing up. And he was like, "You were the most unusual kid." And I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "You would come into the studio, we'd take dance pictures or whatever, and you would be writing like in a journal, and everyone else was like playing or had their Game Boys." And he's like, "I always thought that was so interesting." I'm like, "Still doing it." Still weird. But yeah, it's from early on,
Yeah.
for
Mhm.
sure. Lots of journaling, lots of teen angst, journaling. And it's just always been my way of expression. for sure.
Yeah. And then I think you mentioned SEO is changing and probably changing very fast. Do you have any tips on how to stay updated? And, I guess maybe in general for entrepreneurs, right? Because the world is constantly changing. How do we keep up with all the changes that happen in the world?
Yeah, I mean, I think you sort of have to pick your lane, right? And if you're somebody who has a website that relies on content to make money, you have to keep up to date on SEO. And Google just released again another useful content update, and you have to learn how to create the very best articles on the internet. And in my experience, that means like not cutting corners with AI and not writing things quickly, but really taking the time to create very meaty articles full of substance. But because I have been through so many Google updates, and I've had situations where, well, 1 month the website brings in 10 grand, and the next month it brings in 1,500, and you're like, yay, I finally am making it. I'm on my way to $1 million website, and you're like, no, I'm not. Thanks, Google. And so for me, what I've learned over the years is to really build up my own email lists and really develop that community and relationship, because that way, no matter what happens with Google, YouTube, Instagram, I have my list. And so it's been great to have the experience and the ups and downs of all the websites over the years, because now that we're starting 5-Year U, we're just like, it's just going to be all about the email list now. If people find us, great. We do other podcasts, backlinks, all that stuff. It's good to have an understanding of it. But I know for us, this venture is going to be a lot about ownership of our community for sure.
Yeah. SEO is always kind of a mystery to me. And you mentioned that Andrew is very good at SEO.
Very, yeah.
How did some people become so good at it and others struggle with it?
I think it's like definitely a brain type, right? So Andrew is an accountant. He's very meticulous, and SEO involves so much research. And I think that I know for Andrew, like, he loves a good puzzle. And it's like that kind of brain of people who like to figure things out. And so SEO research is about like really diving deep and finding those little nuggets of key phrases that mathematically, based on all the stats you have, you think that you could win and beat them, right? So yes, it works very well with his brain and puzzle solving. And then it's great because he can do all that and then give the phrase to me, and then I can write it. So it works really well together. But again, it changes so much, and there's so many large companies that can spend so much money to get to the top of Google. It makes it more and more challenging for people with smaller websites to win the game. So we're always reading and watching, and like I said, I've been through many updates, and that's why we have so many diverse income streams. Like, we're not relying on one website to make sure we can order pizza sometime. We have multiple different items and things and income streams coming in, just in case a couple of them get hit in an update.
Yeah. Yeah, no, so all these questions I've been asking is going to try to tie it together. So I think following passion is very important. Otherwise, you would just not be happy, no matter how much money that translates to. But then on the other side, if you follow your passion, there's always things that you don't necessarily want to do or are good at. So that's something I'm struggling with. I'm trying to figure out the best avenue that I can focus on, and then maybe have a balance of things that we like and things we don't like. Do you have any tips on that?
What don't you like?
I think I'm not good at marketing. That's kind of the bit that is difficult for me to figure it out.
Yeah.
But I do like more creative stuff. I can make videos or have podcasts and things like that.
Yeah.
But the marketing piece is what's missing or what's difficult for me. But for a very general topic, I think people all have, their strengths and weaknesses. How do you navigate through that?
I think I always say, like, there are parts of my job that I don't like, and I invented it myself, So I think, like, I don't think that any job is going to be perfect, right? Like, think about maybe some of the most successful, most famous authors that we know, bestsellers. Maybe they're living the dream. They get to write their books, and that's what they get to do. but maybe they hate people. But every time they write a best-selling book, they've got to go on a big PR press book tour because you have to do the thing. I'm a financial writer, and I hate the bookkeeping part. I like all the invoices and like checking and being like, hey, you haven't paid me. It's just like, I hate that part. Marketing, I don't think you're alone in that because it's so hard to like self-promote. It's so hard to feel like you're being salesy and things like that. For me, I've tried a lot of different things, and I find a lot of creative freedom in my email list because it's not like a hard sell and you're not like, okay, I'm going to launch this course. Like for me, I just kind of like talk like we're talking, and I get to be creative in the email. And I think you will naturally like draw in the people who are your customers, and you build that trust with them. And then you can also like just outsource it too. Whether you hire someone to do Facebook or Instagram ads, like we've hired people to do Pinterest for us, and then that really didn't work out. And then just being willing to put a little money towards an idea and being willing to be like, okay, that didn't work out. That was $5,000. That was a lot of money that didn't work out. But until you find the right person or the right ad manager, I mean, I think it's really, if you're able to get some help, I feel like we waited too long to get help with things, for sure.
Yeah.
But you outsource the things you don't like so your brain can do the things that you do. But you still have to keep tabs on it,
Right. Yeah. That's great. Yeah. Thank you. I have two more questions for you.
Okay.
You mentioned that you're a bookworm, so you must have some great book recommendations. Can you tell us a few?
I don't know. You can follow me on Goodreads. I mean, here's the deal. I love personal development books. So I started the year off with Atomic Habits, James Clear, which was the #1 best-selling book last year of all books of all genres. So that's a great book. But I also like to read like scary murder things that make me scared at night. And I don't know why I do it to myself, but like when I'm cleaning my house, like I want to be riveted. And so Frida McFadden is one of my favorite authors for mystery thriller. And yesterday I just finished The Robot Escapes with my kids who are about to be 10. Which is about a robot that lives on an island. So, I mean, we really run the gamut here. But yeah, I kind of go between the mystery thriller and the entrepreneurial books, and then whatever my kids are reading. I listen to audiobooks, so like,
Yeah.
and I listen, like I put on audiobooks for my kids in the car too.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, it's definitely better than watching devices.
Yeah.
Well,
They do that too. Don't worry. But we're not perfect here. They
Right.
love their devices, but we do get a robot book thrown in there every now and then.
Okay, cool. And then last question, where can people find more about you?
Sure. Well, if you're interested in money content, my website is Mom's Got Money, and I'm on Instagram at Mom's Got Money. And the book Mom's Got Money is available anywhere books are sold. And then we'd love for you to check out the new podcast, which is at 5-Year You, and it's 5 spelled out. So FIVE or U. We're on Instagram and TikTok as 5-Year You as well, at 5-Year You.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you so much, Catherine. This is a really good conversation. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, same. It was nice to meet you.
Yeah, you too. Take care.
Bye.